All right, so this is a quick little tutorial for Adobe Photoshop class assignment number 6, which is the postcard. So I just want to reiterate to use the course outline that is either in the Teams Photoshop channel or the ones that are provided through the link that we sent you. They've been edited and they make a whole lot more sense than the ones that are from my campus. So quickly, so the assignment is to create a postcard and have some fun and designing something of your own, basically. So the file, there's no files provided in this case, but it says right here at least 2 or 3 high-res images of your choosing, royalty-free if possible. And you can use images from Pexels, Pixabay, Unsplash, etc. Those are royalty-free images. So I've already downloaded a bunch of images for this particular case. I'm just going to show you how to create something really funky. So always, always keep your recipe on the side. I'm not going to have it on the side. And then point number 2 right there, this is quite important. It's the size. So a print-ready document needs to be in 300 dpi. So that's high-res document. So in this case, we're not going to necessarily start it in CMYK because that turns off a lot of effects and whatnot in Photoshop. So we're going to start in RGB, but we're going to save it in CMYK at the end of it. The size is important. Again, it's 7 1/4 by 5 1/4 inches. Basically, it's a 7 by 5 document with an 1/8 of an inch bleed all around. So that's why it's 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. And in this case, you choose the theme, you make it funky, something about jellyfish, koala, penguins, whatever you want. For example, decide which image you want to use in the background, apply cropping, etc., etc. So all those things that you've learned so far, please apply them. Apply a layer style, apply layer styles to your text, etc., etc. Always work in layers, and at the end, flatten. You don't have to flatten your image, but you can. We can do it actually. I'll demonstrate it, but you can also save as a JPEG, and then make sure you convert that final file, not the one in layers, but the final file that is layered, that is flattened. I mean, in CMYK. Keep the layered file in RGB because again, that turns off a lot of effects. So I just want to show you quickly that I have already downloaded a bunch of stuff. I have a red-looking planet there. That is definitely Mars. I have the NASA logo right there in AI, so that's a vector format, that's a vector file. And I have something that looks like Mars, but it's the hoodoos somewhere in Alberta. I've got a starry sky, a guy on the moon. You get the theme. I want to make a postcard from Mars. That's a Soyuz, I believe that's a Soyuz rocket. This is a rendering of the rover and some other photos in Utah, for example, here. So I'm just going to, poke around and grab some of those images. Those are, I think they're VR games, but I thought they were pretty cool. That's an actual crater from Mars. You know who that is. There's a spaceship in there just for fun. And that's another image that has been already photoshopped to make it look like Mars, which is not bad, but I don't want to use that because it's already been done. But I was thinking about doing the same thing. So having said that, without further ado, and I'm going to start a new document. In my new document, I'm going to go into print right here, and my presets right there. So I have my measurements in inches, and I have, again, remember the 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. That's my size right here at 300 dpi, and I'm going to keep it in color mode. I'm going to keep it in RGB again because there's some effects I want to do that only work in RGB. So in this case, this is perfect, square pixels, etc. Perfect. So create. This is my file. So to create some guides that will help you structure your document and figure out where your bleed is. Right now, my ruler is visible right here, and I can right-click in there and then change my scale right here. So in this case, it's already in inches, but I can switch to pixels, and it might be in pixels if you're starting from scratch. So make sure that you switch it to inches. And in your view right here, you can also show your grid right here. And my grid actually follows, if I zoom in a little bit, it follows my inches right there, right? So if I had my ruler in pixels or something else in millimeters, whatever, you can see that my my grid does not really match my my scale, my ruler. So to change that quickly, I would have to go under, or I think on the PC it's under File, and you have Preferences down there. But on the Macintosh, it just goes into Photoshop, Preferences right in there, and then you find Grids, Guides, Grids, and Slices right there. That opens up this dialog window right here, and this is what you want to focus on right there, your grid. So in this case right now, I have a grid line every 1 inch and a subdivision of 8, which is perfect for, you know, having 3/4, half, a quarter, and 1/8 of an inch. So, but if I want to switch it to, let's say, a grid line every 1 centimeter, subdivision of, etc., and click OK. There it goes. Now I have my grid line every centimeter, because I'm in the centimeter rule right here, and I have a grid line every centimeter, and I have a subdivision, so for each millimeter within my centimeter right here. So I'm going to again switch back to inches. I just want to demonstrate that. Again, back into my preferences right here, and I'm going to switch that to 1 inch with a subdivision of 8. So every 1 inch, I missed that right there. 1 inch every subdivision, and I click OK, and now it matches again my inch ruler. So it's perfect. This is what I want to have. And what that does, what that will help me again to create some guides. So I can go snap to, that's already turned on to the grid and the guides. So to create a guide, I just click and drag from the ruler out, and as you can see, it'll snap to the grid. So that's perfect. I want to have my guides to create my bleed. And my bleed is basically an area that would be trimmed off if you were actually to send this to a printer. Anything outside of the bleed line there, it will get cropped off and cut off, right? So this is basically the edge of my document is right here. This is my document right in here. Anything here outside of will get chopped off. So this is a good start. Now I can go again, I can go into my images right there. I'm going to open that guy right there. I can hide the grid in this case. I don't need to have it. So to hide the grid, the shortcut is Command apostrophe on a Mac. So I'm thinking it's Control apostrophe on a PC. Try it. And all I want to do is I want to drag it in. So I'm using my Move tool right here. I'm just going to click and drag it over to my next tab right there, and I still have my mouse clicked on, and I move my my cursor right in the middle of my photograph, and then I let go, and there's my image right there, and I dropped it in right there. So it's a bit large, so I want to again transform it. So I'm going to go Command T to free transform, or I think Control T on the PC, and there's my center, the center of my my image right there. So I'm just going to move it to the center of my document, approximately right here, and make sure that this is linked right here, and I'm going to put it like, I don't know, 50%, see what it does. Less than that, I'm using my arrow, shift arrow down to shrink it down 10% at a time, and then just arrow up once or twice to go 1% at a time. So there you go. So here I have scaled my background, and it's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So I'm going to hide the grid at this point. First thing I want to do is I want to give it a little bit of a hue, you know, a little bit of an orange tint to it. So I'm going to call it Mars background. Always labeled your files and your layers properly. And what I want to do is in my layers panel right down here, you have this little half and half circle down here. If you click on it right there, you have solid color, gradient, pattern, etc., etc., etc. So you can do a solid color, for example, as an example, and then pick a bright orange again, so that fills your layer entirely. Pick a bright orange like this, for example. That's one way to do it. And then you change your blending mode of that orange layer. So you can change your opacity, but it's just going to make it really, really murky. You can change your blending mode right there to darken. It looks absolutely awful. You can change all of those things. So there's different ways to do it like this, right? So you can do it like that. Again, there's all those different modes right there, different options at your disposal. Or another way to do it, I'm just going to hide that guy right there. Another thing is you can do an adjustment layer, and you do your photo filter right here. You have the little camera right there. It says photo filter. So if you click on that, it creates an adjustment layer according to whatever filter that you have. So I have a warming filter right here. I can see that the density is a little low, so I bring it up. It makes it a very orangey like this. You can change the color as well. You can preserve the luminosity or not, etc. So you have a little bit more control that way, right? So again, you can change your density for each of those. And you have also cooling filters, right? So it makes it cool and cold. Because it's Mars, I want to make it warm. So there's this slightly different tints in the tint, and you can see the color changes right there. So I'm going to keep it like really, really intense, very orangey looking, and that's my adjustment layer right here. That's my my property of that that layer right there. So I'm just going to keep it like this, but I want to make sure, and move that window out of the way. I want to make sure that this is clipped to the image below, or to the layers below right there. So I want to make sure that I click on that. The adjustment affects all layers below. I want to make sure that it clicks on that only. Oops, and because this one is not visible, I should have deleted that guy. There it is, do it again. Select your layer, clip it to that. So it's only affecting that one layer right there. Any other layer that you put above is not going to be affected. So in this case, I just want to hide it for now. And what I want to do is I want to change my sky. And the new Photoshop 2021 has that really cool option. Is you select your image, your layer right there, and you go under select in your menu up here, and you go sky, select the sky right here. So it will select the sky automatically, right? It'll do the work for you. You don't have to do it manually. And then what you can do after that, you can go under edit and you go sky replacement. And sky replacement will have a preset, that's really awful, a preset panel of images right there. And you can see that I've already loaded that storm looking thing, but you have sunsets, and these are on Earth, of course, right? So you have sunsets. If you pick this one, there's my sunset right there. You have the spectacular stuff. So you have, and you can change it, blue skies, whatever. Because we're on Mars, I want to change that. And I want to add my own sky. So I'm going to click on the little plus button down here. And I'm going to find my starry sky right there, which is in my Mars postcard folder in my images. And I can't remember which one it is, so I'm just going to hit the preview button, which is the spacebar on the Mac. That's the one. And go OK, open. Now it's going to be added right there, so I'm going to call it, actually it's Milky Way, actually, it's not Milky Way. Add it to that, and there it is. Now it's in my presets right there, and I can move it around. As you can see, you can just drag it around. It goes by default, goes the width of your screen, but you can zoom in if you want. You can, right now it's the same width, so I just move it up and down. But I want to have it about right here because it's kind of a little bit more dramatic. So make sure that on the left edge right there, it actually matches the whole width. You have in the sky replacement right here panel, you can shift the edge. You can fade the edge, right? So you have just a little edge right there between your foreground and the sky right there. You can see that it changes quite dramatically. So I want to fade it as well. You can shift it as well, so it gets a little bit fuzzier around the edges. You can brighten it. You have control of all that stuff as well. So you can darken it and brighten it and whatever, right? You can change the temperature, make it cool or or warm, and I want to warm it up as much as possible because we are on Mars and we have a red atmosphere, I suppose. You can also scale it, of course, right? So, I don't want to scale it too much, so I'm just going to keep it at 105 or 6, whatever. The lighting mode as well, you have control of all that stuff. You have multiply, you have screen, so I'm going to keep it multiply to keep it dark. You can adjust the light again. You can make it darker, brighter. Again, that changes basically your blending between your foreground and your background. Same thing, color adjustment right there. You can control all that stuff. And it will output all of that we're doing right here to new layers, which is what we want to do. So we're going to click OK. And all that stuff now is in a group. You can see sky replacement group right here is all set and done in one group. So it's pretty quick, and it creates it creates masks automatically to blend things in. It creates lighting, adjustment layers for your lighting, for your balance, etc., etc. So it's all in one piece. So I want to make sure that, again, my warming filter is applied. So I'm going to turn it back on. And of course, it applies it to the whole, just the background, not that image that is above. So I'm just going to select that quickly. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that, let's say, this image right there, my Mars background right there, what I can do is I can create a new group. So I can select all of those two, actually subgroup and the sky replacement group and my Mars background, create a new group, and it creates a new group right there. And I call it background. And now what I want to do, oh, didn't spell it properly. Of course not. So what I want to do actually is I want to pull out this adjustment layer and pull it out of my my group right there. And that, again, clip it to just that group right there. So I can turn that on and off. And there's my Mars background right there. So it's a little intense. So I'm just gonna, preserve luminosity. You know what? Yeah, it's good. Keep it like this, just a little bit reddish. Yeah, for something like this. Yeah, perfect. I want to keep it kind of silly and orangey and weird looking. So that's my first step. Next step is I want to add some text. As you can see in the outline right here, it also says, like put some descriptive text, etc. So I want to do something really, really silly in this case. I want to go, I want to type Mars right there. I'm going to make it really big. To select your text in the layer, you can just double click on your layer icon right there, the T icon right there, and then it will select the text. And then you will have your text property right here, or in your control bar at the top. Photoshop only in Photoshop it does that. In Adobe CC, you can change your type right here in the pull down menu, which is pretty boring. Or as you can see, you can move your mouse over on the T on the icon there, on your type icon, and you can scrub it. And it does the same thing in here as well on the properties panel. You can just scrub it to the right, to the left to make it bigger. Right? So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to pick a funky font. Sure. This one, really, really thick. I want to make it really, really thick and really big because I want to put images inside my letters, just like we did, I think, in assignment 3. So I'm going to make it even bigger again. Actually, you know what? I'm going to center it. Yeah, there's a little bit of negative kerning right there. So the letters are really, really tight against one another. I'm going to reduce that a little bit to -10 instead of -25. So that's perfect. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that so again, I select my text right here, double click on my layer, and in my control bar right up here, you have that little T there with a little curve underneath, and that's to create a warped text. So I have the option, it's just basically a layer style for your text right here. So I want to go, I'm going to go in arch it right there. Maybe not arch it. Yeah, no, I'm going to arch it. And then I'm going to not bend it that much. Vertical or horizontal? No, definitely horizontal. And I want to get a little, yeah, there you go, a little bit of perspective like this and a little bit of vertical. There you go, totally looks like a 1950s Mars attack kind of thing. So in this case, I just have the text, which is just exactly perfect, exactly what I wanted. Now I want to put some images inside my letters. So I am going to, actually, I'm going to close this layer. I don't need to have it anymore open, but I'm going to go back to my Finder right there. And I'm going to find one of those images that I want to put in, such as, for example, with Armstrong right there. So I'm just going to open it up. Again, I open it up in Photoshop, and then I drag it around. If I do the opposite around, if I just do this, if I drag it in, right in there, that creates a smart object. So if I accept the change right there, it is a smart object in my layer, which is not a bad idea, not a bad thing to use. But in this case, you know what? I can keep it like this. And I can shrink it down like this, make sure that it's linked. And I want to put that guy right in the M, so I'm going to put it about right here or so. But what I want to do now, again, remember the in assignment 3, you can create a clipping mask right there. So now it's in my letters of Mars right there, but I don't want it to be over
multiple letters, I want it to be only on the M right there. So I'm going to put it about right here. I'm going to rotate it. I'm just doing Command T just to rotate it a little bit right there. And maybe actually bigger, make it bigger. There you go. Now we have a Martian right there. But what I want to make sure of is I want to mask my image just over the M right there. So what I can do is I can create a mask right in here in my layers panel. And I can just, for example, select an area right here and then fill it with black. So I use the command delete or control delete to fill it with your background color right here. So that's a quick way to do it. Another way to do it as well is you can go into your Mars right there. You press and hold your command key, or I believe it would be either Option or Control on the PC, and you can see the cursor changes to a selection right there. So I can do this, and now it selects my letters. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to delete my mask first. I'm going to do that again. So now it selects the pixels, basically their shape, not the letters themselves, but it makes a selection out of the letters. So I can switch over to my image right there, and then I can make a mask from there. So now, of course, everything is masked except the Mars letters. So now I can do the same thing again. Now it's perfectly matching to the M. And again, I do the same thing right here. I make sure that I'm in my mask layer. I select the A, R, and S letters. And again, I fill them up. So it's 6 or half, but in this case, I want to make sure I have only a mask over the M and not just over the randomly over the image. So that way I can disassociate the two right there, and I can switch to my move tool right there, which is V on my keyboard, and then I can move this around, place it in the right spot, shrink it if I want to. Not quite. I want to make sure, there you go. I want to make sure that we see the whole guy right there. Yeah, it's going to be right here. Perfect. There you go. So that's an option right there. So I'm going to do that again with multiple images. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to close that. And I'm going to do the same thing right there on the other images that I wanted to bring in. There's a Soyuz. Let's bring the Soyuz in there. Same thing. Going to scale it down, put it over the A because that matches the shape of the rocket. Approximately like that. Just going to put that in. And again, same thing. Right? Right click on it. Create clipping mask, and again it is linked to that letter again. So in this case it's perfect. I don't really need to create a mask because it's quite narrow and it fits perfect. So I'm just going to keep going. The creator, I don't know, the creator might be, yeah, let's put one of those as if it was a new. There you go, perfect. I'm going to put that in there again. Right click, clipping mask. Now, of course, now we'll have to create a proper mask on this particular case, but I want to scale it down. I want to put that person right there in the R as if it was super high tech. And again, I'm going to go into my Mars layer, press and hold my command key, select my image again, and create a mask right there. And again, in this case, I want to hide those extra letters. In this case, all of them except the R. And then I'm going to do that one more time with the fourth image. Let's see. I'm going to keep that for later. Let's see. Yeah, let's grab that one. And again, I'm doing that multiple times. But basically, this is what I want to do. I'm not sure if it's a good option, but I'll keep it like this, no matter what. to make a mask again. Select all my letters, not quite, and fill it with black. There you go. So now I have each letter has a different photograph in there. And what I want to do now, select my Mars layer, and I'm going to create a stroke around it. So I go into Layer, Style, and I go Stroke right here. So if I create a stroke, oh, it's already set at a funky color right there. So there's all my layer styles right there, right? So for every single one that you want to do or turn on, you need to be in that list basically on the left-hand side. So in this case, I want to go stroke. I want to add, you know what? There's my stroke right there. Maybe I don't want that to have it that bright orange because it blends in too much with the Soyuz. So I want to make it green because, you know, Martians are green. It's well known. You can change your, right, in this case, I have my stroke on the outside of my letters. You can put it on the inside. You can put it on the center. In my case, the perfect case right there, I want to have it on the outside. And you can change the blending mode of your color right here. So blend mode, right now it's overlay, but you can make it lighten, which is really awful. You can make it darken and kind of disappears in the background. You can go luminosity, etc., etc. So you have all those blending modes at your disposal to play with. Linear light, that's really bright. Soft light, it's a little softer. You know what, my overlay was pretty good. It was still had a little bit of intensity to it. And you can change your opacity of that. So all of that stuff is happening within your layer style, right? So I want to keep it super, super bright, super stupid on green. And I also want to add a drop shadow maybe on my text. So again, in my layer style panel on the left-hand side here, I'm just going to move it up a little bit. I have my drop shadow right here. So I select it. It's turned on right away. And again, I have my color is actually an orange color like this, right? So I can pick my color right here. So just by sliding up and down, by moving this around, or by just moving my cursor over, and then my eyedropper is inside the image right here. So I can pick a dark brown from the sky right there. It's kind of brownish. Whatever color is rocking your world. I want to get it pretty intense. Yeah, about that color. So it's got a bit of a tint to it. And you can change your opacity again, right? And you can see the shadow being a bit more intense under your letters right here. And you can see that the stroke is not affected by that drop shadow. So it's pretty cool. You can change the distance as well, make it right on top of it. You can move it further away. I don't want it to be too far. You can spread it, so make it really, really thick. You have all the control of all that stuff. The size of it as well. If you go 100, like massive, and then go 100% spread, and then change the size, you get a solid, basically a solid black outline right there, which kind of looks like 3D looking. So it's, you know, there's again all those options at your disposal, right? So you know, this is kind of cheeseball, but I don't want it to be too hard. There you go, just like that. Size is perfect. I just want to make it just like that for fun. You can add some noise to it, and what it does is, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see that it gets a little grainy right there. If I put no noise whatsoever, it's nice and smooth, but if I add a little bit of noise, it gets really, really grainy like this. So I just want to add a little bit of grain just for fun, and click OK. So there's my awful looking Mars images placed into my letters. It's really difficult to read, but this is just for fun. I should make a group of all those layers, actually, all the Mars layer right here. So I'm selecting all of those layers right there, and I'm creating a new group right there. I'm going to call it Mars. Mars text. So in this case, now I can create a new layer. I don't need to create a new layer. I can use my type tool again. It's really, really large. And I'm going to type, wish you were here. But I'm going to change the font and something really cheesy. If I have something very cheesy. Let's see. Yes, brush script. Perfect. This time I'm going to go with a color instead. And again, I'm going to do a warp thing. This time I'm going to go a little bit positive, but going the other way. Total cheese ball. There you go. Postcard from Mars. What I can do as well, remember I have this NASA logo right there, right? And this time I want to drag it in from my window straight into my Photoshop window right here. And I will open it up as a smart object because it's a vector file. So it will place in full scale, whatever. But it is a smart object again, so I can scale that and make it a little smaller to fit because it's a NASA logo. I want it to be a little bit more discreet. And the cool thing is this. So I'm going to put it away from the edge right there. Remember, this is the edge of my paper. I want to put it right here in the bottom corner. But what I want to do is I want to change the color of this logo right here. So, and this is a smart object. So if I double click on my layer right here, it switches over and it opens up in Illustrator. So it tells you, well, sure, whatever, discard changes, whatever, sure. And there's my NASA logo in Illustrator because it's an AI file that I placed in my Photoshop. So I'm going to select it all right here. I'm going to close all those layers right there, and I'm going to make it white. So it is in RGB, so it doesn't really matter in this case, but I'm making white. So that's all I'm doing. And because it's, I'm just going to hit save right there. Sure, legacy, sure, save, whatever, save, close. I'm going to switch back to Photoshop, and now it is white, just like that. So that's the cool thing about those files is you can actually edit them outside of your software and come back in there and then place them in there. So again, I'm going to do a little bit of a stupid effect on this thing again. Layer effect, layer style, a bit of a outer glow, for example. Let's put an outer glow. Sure, and I'm going to grab a green because we're on Mars. I'm just going to do that very quickly. So it has a little bit of a glow. So there's your Mars, wish you were here image right there, and then your postcard from Mars. That's it. If you want to, another trick as well, the wish you were here text right here has no effect on it whatsoever. And if you want to, for example, grab the effect that you have already on a layer and then play on and then apply the exact same one on another layer, you go to your layers panel right here, and then you right-click on your layer right here, and it says right there, copy layer style. So I can copy that NASA glow right there, and then I select my wish you were here layer right here, right-click on it, and then paste layer style. And there you go. Now my wish you were here has the exact same effect as well, which I can actually also edit as well. I can double-click on my outer glow right here, change the color if I want to. I'm going to lose it, orange and orange, it's going to disappear. So I'm going to make it nice and blue. I don't know about nice, but I can make it blue. And yeah, it disappears. Oh, it's the NASA that changed. Sorry, I did it on the NASA and not the wish you were here. But I did a blue glow on the NASA. But that's the cool thing about that is you can copy and paste the same layer effects onto another layer. And it's quite fun that way. Now, in this particular exercise as well, it's also asking you to add some extra images and then put, again, the stroke around it, right? So this is what I'm going to do very, very quickly. I'm going to select those images right there. There's a planet right there, the crater. I'm going to switch back to Photoshop. There's my crater right here. I'm just going to drop it in there. I'm going to make that a lot smaller. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, the other way around, like this. So we have a little bit more of a matching image right there. I'm just going to drop it right on my guides right there just for now. And I'm going to grab another one. And this time I'm going to do, yeah, this one, sure, as if it was taken from the red planet. So in this case, I want to just scale it up approximately the same size. Sure, just like that. And again, I want to apply stroke to those images, right? So I'm just going to go layer style, stroke right there, and instead of the green, I'm going to make it different this time. I'm going to get bright and orange, but this time I'm going to change the size. I'm going to make it a little bit more discreet. 10 pixels, or say 15 pixels, because 10 is a little thin on the outside or on the center. It doesn't matter. I'll put it on the center. I make it normal. And I can even change the opacity just a little bit of it. There you go. And it's going to make it just a little brighter. There you go. So we have just a little bit of a transparency around my frame right there. And then again, same thing. I can right click on it, copy layer style, select my other creator photograph right there, paste layer style, and there I have the same stroke again. So I can select both, press and hold my shift key, move them away from the edges. This case, I want to move that one over about right here, and I'm going to move my NASA logo right in between. There you go. So there, and then you have, you can always add a drop shadow on those as well. That's always fun to add a drop shadow on everything. That is cheeseball. Here, distance, no, not that much. You can change the angle, so I want to change the angle that way. I don't want to spread it too much. And again, on the planet, this time I'm going to do it differently, the other angle. Drop shadow, but I'm going to change the angle right there. Ooh, changes everything. I don't want that. Let's put a drop shadow in there. And in this case, again, less of a distance, less of a spread. No, change the angle, see what it does. Sure, whatever. It's just for demonstration purposes. But there you go. You have your postcard from outer space. So I'm going to save that, of course. I forgot to say that along the way. I'm going to put it like this in there. I'm going to put Mars postcard Photoshop. So it's in a Photoshop layered file, right? Remember, so it's going to be it's going to make a .psd. Why I wanted to keep it in RGB is I wanted to add a lens flare over the whole thing, just for fun. So when you do a lens flare effect, it's usually on an image, right? It needs an image to be able to apply it. So in this case, for example, I'm going to do it on the red planet right here, just as an example. Oh no, that's a smart layer, so I can't do that. I can do it on my background images right there. So I'm going to select it right there, and just as a demo. And I'm going to go under filter, and it's under render right here. And my mouse is a little sticky. Lens flare, and it does this, right? It creates. This is your preview of your layer, and it creates that little hotspot right there, and it looks like a lens flare from your camera. You can pick your different lens flare. You have different intensity. You have different lens angle, so zoom, whatever, movie prime, so it looks like Star Trek, and you can place it wherever on that specific layer. So, and the only problem is it is destructive. So if I place it right in here, I'll just put it right behind pretty much the center where the NASA is right there. If I click on that, I go, okay, it is destructive. It is on my image, and then now I cannot change it. I cannot modify it. So I'm going to undo that quickly. And what I want to do is I want to create a layer that is actually above everything else. So I'm going to make sure I select my top layer right here, and I create a new layer that I'm going to call lens flare, because I'm smart like that. I'm going to call it lens flare, and I'm going to go and fill it up with black. So in this case, it's my background color. So I can go Command Delete, or you can go also, under Edit, Fill, and you can go white, black, or foreground background color. In my case, it's black and white already. I can go black, 100% opacity, etc. So it's a black
black solid layer that covers it all. Now I can apply my lens flare on this thing. So I can go back to filter again. I'm not going to apply it again. I want to do it. I want to use another one. Go lens flare right there, and I want to move it about right here, but I'm going to use a different lens right there. I'm just going to reduce the opacity, the brightness of it. I'm going to click OK. So there's my lens flare over the whole postcard. So the problem is, there's my postcard. So what did I do? All you have to do is you change your blending mode of that layer. So instead of the opacity right here, which just makes it everything murky, I want to change my blending mode right there. It says normal. I want to change it to, as you move it down the list right there, if you go lighten or screen, sorry, screen right there is the one that you want, right? So I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to move that down actually below my Mars text. So it's going to be behind all that stuff. And now I can move that layer around if I want to, right? I have control over it, where it sits, so it looks like lens flare happening from behind the letter N, for example, between the M and the A. So as you can see, it creates a little bit of an edge right there, the bottom down here. So all I need to do is I can, use an eraser or create a little mask quickly right there. You can see right there. I'm just going to zoom it in a little bit. You can see that little step right there, and it's not very pretty. So I want to blend that in a little bit. So I'm going to create a new mask quickly. I'm going to use my blend tool right here. I'm going to go make sure that's foreground to background. So I switched my black to white right there, and you can see right here. And then I'm going to my basic gradient right here, and I'm then going to go foreground to background. I'm going to go foreground to transparent. And all that does is it creates a blending, as you can see right there. Actually, I have it in circular mode, in radial mode instead of linear. And all it does is it creates a linear blend right there, as you can see. But I can grab it around from a different angle like this, and then I can create my own little, I suppose, vignette effect kind of thing, right? So I just want to create a little bit of less intensity right there. And then there it is. So there's my lens flare. That looks a little bit funkier like that. And that allows me to, again, move it around, have it in the right spot. Like so. Mars, wish you were here. There you go. That is how you can create something really funky for assignment 6 postcard. Just using effects, strokes, dropping images in there, making them to clipping mask, warping the text, and there it is. Have some fun with it. Save your file in layers, in PSD, and of course, again, save it as a JPEG. So you go back again and you go save as, and then you go change your format to JPEG, right? So you have the Mars PSD, so that's your working file, so you can always modify things, and then the JPEG will be the flattened version. So you don't even have to flatten it if you want. I want to keep it in high res for sure, 12, etc. No problem. And then now what I want to do is I want to go open again my my JPEG right there. So again, I have my PSD open right here. So I'm going to open the JPEG. There's my JPEG right here. And then this time I want to switch it to CMYK. So I go under image mode, color mode right there, which is a CMYK, which is the print colors, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. RGBs are our screen colors. Switch to CMYK right there. So you can see the green kind of got a little duller, right? You can see this before and after, but that's totally normal. And there's not really much you can do because that green is so intense, it would not translate into print colors anyway. But that's it. And then you save it again, right? And now you have your JPEG in CMYK. You can see in the tab right there. And then you have your RGB file in layers. So you can always come back and edit it and have, change your mind and change this photograph or do whatever. So there. Now, finally, save everything and then close, and you're done.